When a deformed boy gets murdered and his caregiver dies, Pumpkinhead rises from the grave to get revenge. Now the question is this sequel worth watching? Well, let's talk about that. Tommy, a deformed orphan boy, gets hunted down and brutally killed by a group of teenagers. Why? Because to hell with him, he looks different. During his murder, we also see a witch lady, this one being Miss Ossie, or however you pronounce it. She's suffering the same pain Tommy was, which leads me to believe she used her magic to connect themselves so she would know if he was ever in danger. I don't know for sure though, because that's not explained. After this, we skip to present day 1993. The sheriff's pretty blonde daughter hangs with the bad kids, and after they mow down Ossie, they head to her cabin. Why? Well, because when they stopped the car, she was gone. So better run, kids. The lady made a mad dash home. Because, of course she did. Well, she actually didn't. And once at the cabin, they discover witchy stuff. And that one bad girl somehow knows all about this stuff. Like the evil page from an evil spell book, along with an evil vial of blood. Weird, but okay. Ossie shows up and they prepare to leave, and when she catches bad boy Danny trying to steal from her, he lays the beat down on her and shows her why old witches don't fight with young men who don't care about whooping an old lady's ass. The gang then goes back to the small gravesite on the property that they passed by, dig up the corpse, and try reviving it. As this is going on, a fire starts at Ossie's, nearly killing her. The group leave and Ossie survives because Pumpkinhead, resurrected using Tommy's corpse and soul, dragged his guardian angel out of the fire. From here on out, we watch the evil in Tommy as him hunt down the now grown-up boys who killed him, and then the teens who were responsible for Ossie's eventual death. It ends with Tommy Pumpkinhead getting blasted apart by an angry mob, but not before he spared the sheriff's daughter. Now, before you assume he did this because it was a cliche monster falling for the damsel thing, that's not it at all. Tommy was ready to slaughter this chick, but Papa Larry, or Sean, confronts him. The two had a history, with Sean saving Tommy from nearly falling into a mine. Sean pleads for his daughter's life and gives him a necklace Ossie gave him, and that's when the girl is spared, and, well, Tommy dies in another slow and painful death. Now let's talk about the lore first. So in the first movie, if you hurt Pumpkinhead, the person who summons him gets hurt too, and vice versa. So this raises the question, why didn't Pumpkinhead die when Ossie dies? Or why didn't Pumpkinhead die when he killed Danny, the teen responsible for doing the resurrection ritual? Or what the hell was going on in the opening flashback where Ossie suffered Tommy's pain? Why didn't she die? What type of connection did she have with him? Why did she have it with him? I don't know, and it didn't ruin the movie at all, but I would have liked the answers to those things, along with a good explanation as to why neither of his resurrectors killed him in their deaths. Moving on from that, let's talk about the characters and cast real quick. So this movie's young people are the most generic made-for-TV kids, and Pretty Blonde Girl was just that, the same basic pretty blonde girl you see in every movie. The young people didn't ruin the movie, however it was very noticeable just how not professional they were. They're not good actors. Now when it comes to the adult cast, they were pretty good for the most part. My only complaint is that they said some real cheesy and cringeworthy shit sometimes. Like when the sheriff and the black woman discover a frantic lady in the barn, the sheriff says something about how something she saw must have scared her, then the black lady pauses for dramatic effect and says something like, "She was almost scared to death." But cringeworthy dialogue aside, the adult characters are pretty alright. Now as for the cast portraying them, I was surprised how many people I recognized. It felt like a modern, no-budget indie film. You know the type I mean. The ones that spend the little budget they have bringing in as many horror stars as possible. The sheriff is played by Andrew Robinson, who played Larry in Hellraiser and Creepy Barbara in Child's Play 3. It also stars Kane Hodder of Friday the 13th fame, R.A. Mihailoff and Joe Unger, who both starred in Texas Chainsaw 3 as Leatherface and his brother Tinker. And finally we've got Linnea Quigley, one of the more popular typecasted booby actors of the time. There may have been more, but those are the ones I recognize. Moving on to the pacing, everything flowed well from a movie viewer perspective. The story just flows, nothing slows it down or gets in the way, but this also means if a character has to fall in love for a love interest, it's in the blink of an eye. If a character has to fall in with the bad kids, it's literally going down in the first few minutes. And if a character just left the cabin and said, "I'll be right back," the pretty blonde is going to point out that he's been gone for a while, even though it was less than 30 seconds. This movie is a good enough direct-to-video movie. It's a fun time, and I actually found myself giving a shit about Tommy. Albeit it was at the end, when the monster Tommy had that moment with the sheriff. But still, I think Pumpkinhead 2 is a fun enough movie and a good sequel to Pumpkinhead. The first is the best, and I've got a feeling it'll always be that way, but we'll just have to wait and see. In the end, I'd rate 1993's Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings a 7 out of 10. If you've seen this movie, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.
Looking for more horror fun?
You're goddamn right.
Then check out the VHS comic book series, a parody of the horror genre that follows the lives of 3 teens as they fight to survive a horror movie, where every day is loaded with blood, boobs, and buds. The first 2 issues can be found in the description below.
I was obsessed with the VHS.